Hello everybody, we're going to be doing our training this week on transitions. So as you can see here, I have one of our main sites for ordering transitions up. Um, it's called Artistic Finishes. This is where we get a lot of our um, wood transitions from. I'm not going to go over the actual ordering process today, but I am going to go over what each type of transition is, what it's used for, and basically just as an overview, how a little bit of how it's installed, things like that, just so you have an idea. You know, if somebody asks you a question, or if you're ever out on a measure and you need to know what these things are. So first off, you go to artisticfinishes.com, and their site is pretty easy to use. If you want to look up products, they have a nice one here that just says product lookup. Click on that here. Now, as you can see, they have these blocks that allow us to pick what we want. One of the best ways to do this, one of the ways that I'm going to do this, just so that we can see as many different types of transitions as possible, we're going to select manufacturer. We're going to use the LVT collection here. You can use all sorts of different ones. They have things in here that are manufacturer specific, like Congolium. So if you've got a Congolium Duraceramic, you can go here. Um, you can look through these, and that will help you to find those products. But like I said, today we're just going to do the LVT collection. Now we're using LVT collection, but remember these names are going to work for pretty much all of the different types of floors. So um, a reducer is a reducer whether it's LVT or laminate. It does the same thing. It's got the same type of an idea behind it. So keep in mind that when I'm using these names, they're going to be the same whether it's LVT, laminate, wood, those types of things. What might change will be whether they have like an overlapping version or a flush mount, which we'll get into in a little bit. So now select the color. We'll just select unfinished today, make it a little easier, but there's lots of different colors. If you have the color, if you have the color wheel or the color chain from Moldings Online in your store, all of these colors here go by that color wheel. So go ahead and just if you can pick one out and you don't need to try to match a thing, you can always go to this LVT collection and pick whatever color you want. We'll just do unfinished today. Flooring material, this is what it's made out of, whether it's white oak, red oak, hickory, maple, all these different types. And remember that the species will change the price of the transition. If you have a Brazilian cherry, it's going to be more expensive than a red oak. Um, maple might be a little bit more expensive than a red oak, but I think in general, maple and oak are your two basic ones. So we'll just go ahead and pick a red oak here. And now it's selected 4mm and all the stuff for me auto-filled because there's nothing to select for them. So, all right, so we're just going to view the products. Now, waiting for it to load. Okay, so it says here solid wood accessories. If they had a different type of accessory, like a laminate accessory or an LVT accessory, they would have another tab here. Let's see here. States here, Artistic Finishes does not offer chatter marks, planer marks, or sawn marks on manufactured flooring accessories. What that means, if you don't understand what that means, what it means is that if you're looking at your product and you see that there are imperfections in it, things that look like they're from running it through a machine that there was like little flecks and stuff out of it. That's what this means. They're not going to have those types of things. So if your floor is a rustic look, this your accessories are not going to have those rustic features to them. Make sure that your customer knows that if they're worried about it. If they don't want or if they want it to be as close to the product as possible, you'll have to order the transitions from the manufacturer itself instead of from Artistic Finishes. And even then, they might not have it, just to keep in mind. So, all right, now our first transition here is what's known as a stair nose. This is a mini adjustable. These are used to finish off at stairs. It's pretty self-explanatory. Most of these are, the names are. What this adjustable allows us to do is if you watch where my pointer is, if the stair comes into here like this, and then say that the floorboard is this long down to here, well, you can adjust this so that it's the right height, so that this will fit on the top, and then you can clip off the bottom of this without changing the stair nose, or without changing the function of the stair nose. So it allows for that without having it to be a problem. Now, one of the things with these with these mini adjustable stair noses is that you must order the special adhesive with this product. When it comes up, there should be a bundle thing that tells you what it is. If you don't use their special adhesive, they will not guarantee that this stair nose will stay on. So if it keeps falling off and stuff, we're gonna have to pay to replace that. Versus if we use their adhesive and it falls off, they should, cover it. Of course, we all know that doesn't work out that way very often. But so just keep in mind, order that adhesive, please. All right, now we're gonna look at our moldings. Now these are so this is quarter round. We don't order this as often. The difference between quarter round and base shoe, as you can see here, is base shoe. We'll explain. Quarter round has the same size sides on the foot and on the wall side. So that's why it's called quarter round. If your customer already has quarter round, that's when we usually order quarter round. We don't normally use quarter round otherwise. Normally we order base shoe. I think it looks nicer. Most people think it looks nicer. It tends to be a better look. So tend to stay away from quarter round unless they already have quarter round. And if they tell you it's quarter round, don't believe them until you see it yourself, because they don't know what it is. They just call it quarter round, and then you'll go out there and it's base shoe, I promise. All right, so the quarter round, like base shoe, what they're both used for is to cover the gap in between the wall and the product. When we put in our products, they're not all the way flush up against the wall. So we have to have something to cover the gap in between the two, and base shoe or quarter round does that job very well for us. So keep in mind that's what it's for. If your customer asks, you can actually have a little bit of knowledge on that. All right, now we're going to look at the T-mold. T-molds are used to transition from the same height floor, from a hard surface to a hard surface, okay? So let's say that you have an engineered hardwood floor that the customer has on their floor. And then we are going to put another engineered hardwood that's going to butt up to it in a doorway. Well, as long as the two are the same height, we want to use this T-mold. The T-mold, what it does is as you can see, it's a T. It's got the exact same height on both sides. Works perfectly for that type of a transition. So this little bottom part here fits in between the two and allows for the expansion, and allows us for the expansion piece or the expansion to leave a little bit of a gap on each side for those products. And then this sits in a track usually, or is glued or nailed down depending on again what it is. Keep in mind that these all have their lengths on them. These quarter round pieces and base shoe pieces are both 8 feet from Artistic Finishes. They're 6.5 feet for T-moldings. This is important when you're ordering. If you need a 4-footer and a 3-footer, you need to order 2 6.5-footers. As much as that may pain you to do, it needs to be done. If you have 2 3-footers, then you can get away with a 6.5-foot with ordering 1 6.5-footer. But keep in mind, order the right numbers. Make sure that you're writing down the correct lengths of each transition when you're out measuring to make sure that they've got the right lengths, or that you've got the right lengths, and so that you can order properly. Alright, so that's T-molding. Hard surface to hard surface, same height. Alright, now we're going to do the wall base one here. Wall base, as most of you know, it is decorative board around the edge of the room that covers the bottom portion of the drywall, because the drywall, of course, is usually uneven or higher than the floor, whatever. So you want to have, that's why wall base is there. Wall base is also, sometimes people use wall base as the quarter round or the base shoe. They use it to cover the top of it. That's not really what it's for, but you can use it for that at times. Keep in mind again that these are a certain height. Artistic Finishes has a height on these. I believe it's 2 1/4 or 2 3/4. Let's see here if it says. There it is. It's 3.5. They've got 3.5-inch wall base. If you need a different wall base height, Trims Direct has other ones that you can look at. So if you need to go there, that's great. These come in 8-footers. Trims Direct allows you to order any length you want. Now they're only going to be up to 12. They're only going to be up to 8 feet though. So just keep in mind though that they'll send you like a 5-footer or whatever if you order say 45 feet. All right. So now for our next one, this is a reducer. Technically, this is an overlapping reducer. For an LVT, they're always overlapping. The overlapping is this little piece here that overlaps the top of the product, allows us to leave the expansion piece on the back side, or the, not expansion piece, expansion gap on the back side. These get glued down or nailed down usually. They're not usually put in with a track or anything like that. What reducers are used for is to go from LVT to a lower floor. Usually like a sheet vinyl or a concrete, something like that. So, so basically it's exactly what its name states. It's a reducer. It reduces from LVT to another product. Sometimes if you, like it with your T-molds and stuff, if you've got like a very slightly higher one side than the other, you may want to get a reducer instead. These can be doctored a little bit by the installers to make them work. They can either, you know, fill this side over here, or they may, if they're really good with their table saw, may be able to trim off the bottom here. So just keep in mind that, you know, reducers reduce from one floor to another. And this is from your LVT to another floor. So if the other floor is higher, you may need a different profile. Keep that in mind. These are only a certain profile. And as you saw when I clicked on the wall base, these all have dimensions. Okay, so if you click on it, it tells you what the dimension is. You've got a 1/4 inch reducer, 1/4 inch from the top of that to the bottom. That's the standard height for most of our smaller LVTs. Make sure that when you're ordering these, you're ordering the correct one. You don't want to order this one, say for Cortec, it's not high enough, or Rigid Core, not high enough. You need a higher reducer for that. You actually need a laminate reducer, not an LVT reducer. All right, next thing here is a square nose. Again, 6.5 feet. Dimensions are here. This is a 3/8 inch one. That's because this is a full-size square nose. They have mini square noses that are smaller and they're a little lower on the page. In general, I suggest ordering the regular square nose because these ones can be trimmed. This foot here can be trimmed down by the installer to make it whatever height they need. What square noses are used for in general are to finish off to things like well, mostly to carpet. We usually use it for carpet because what it does is it gives us a nice flat place. We can put the tack strip right along the front side of it and tuck the carpet to that. It's almost like building a little wall. But what it's also used for, if you want to know, is we sometimes use square noses to go around things like fireplaces. They work very well for that. When the fireplace is, made out of a tile or a brick that's a different height than the floor, square noses work pretty well. Um, that's pretty much it for square noses. So next one is, now these are for the LVT stair nose. These are another style of stair nose. These are called flush mount stair noses. In order to use these, you must use a 1/4 inch underlayment. As you can see here, I'll open this up. This part here is a little bit, this lays on the floor, then this gives you that 1/4 inch piece that you need to put the 1/4 inch plywood down, and then you lay the LVT on top, and then this becomes the stair nose right here. Now, they have two different ones for these flush mount stair noses. They've got this one, which is a little bit longer and shorter this way, and then this one is longer this way and shorter this way. What it does, basically, it's to cover a different size floorboard. And also, you've got an 8-footer versus a 6.5 footer. Let me just check and make sure. I think they're different sizes. 0.68, 0.47. Yeah. So yeah, this one won't cover as big of a board. So this would be like if you have 1/2 inch floorboards, you would want to use this one. If you've got 3/4 inch floorboards, you'd want to use the other one. So in general, we don't use a lot of the flush mount stair noses. We can use them, but remember, you got to put down 1/4 inch. It's the only way to do it. If they don't put down 1/4 inch, can't use them. So if they really want these types, make sure that they're putting that down. Mini square nose. This is just like the square nose above that's already been basically clipped down. We don't use these as often because they're not as usable. They only cost like $5 less, so there's no point in us, ordering these mini square noses when we have the regular one that we can use. All right, now this is a reducer, a little bit bigger of a reducer. It's got a bigger bump to it. Again, look at the actual dimensions. These will help you figure out which one you should be ordering. If you need to understand the dimensions of the product you're ordering for the floor type as well as this, just to make sure that you've got the right one. Anyway, so that's another overlapping reducer. Then they've got the T-Mold Mini. It's got the little foot. This is an overlapping stair nose. These are the ones we tend to use more often because they can be used in every situation no matter what. If the person says they don't want an overlapping, they don't want the bump, then you can tell them, yes, we can do the flush mount, but make sure you're letting them know the downfalls of using that they must have 1/4 inch. So all right, now moving on to the bottom here, we've got some hardwood treads and risers. These are important because if you need to do a tread, you'll have to be able to look here. They've got them in 36, 42, 48, and 60. Remember, these are hardwood treads. And then the no return, they've got, as you can see here, they've got, this is a return style. So if you need a return, and the only way to tell that is if the customer A tells you and they're trying to order these, or the measure person says we need to return sides. So basically, just take a look at it, figure out what you need, order the right ones. Risers, those are the same thing. Make sure you get the right one. You've got 1/4 inch and 3/4 inch. Usually we're going to use 1/4 inch ones. 3/4 inch ones, it depends on where you're going to be at. If you're going to try to, like, say, cover the front side of a step, you might use the 1/4 inch. If we're doing a hardwood step all the way around, then we'd probably use the 3/4 inch. That would allow you to put it up against the board, and because basically we have to remove we have to re-engineer the steps. We actually have to pull off the old treads and risers, even the the plywood portion of it, and put these on right on the stringers. So, all right, last thing here is going to be our vents and dampers. If you have any questions about vents and dampers, pretty much it's size: 10 inch, 12 inch, 14 inch. They've got surface mount ones. These are for the LVTs. If you look at your wood products, you're going to find you'll find flush mounts. Usually, you don't do flush mounts with LVT or laminate. You do it with wood because we can actually build an area around it. But as you can see, they come in 2.5 inch, 4 inch, and 6 inch wide ones, and then these are the sizes available. Just keep in mind that these are, these are the surface mounts. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a bump in the floor. Don't forget to let them know that when you're ordering it, just so that they don't come out and wonder why they're not flush ones. And but in general, most people much prefer the wood over the metal ones, even though the metal ones are usually a little lower. So anyway, that's kind of all of our different transitions, vents as well, and even some stairs. I didn't realize those were all going to be there. So if you have any questions about these, if you have any questions about transitions, let me know. But other than that, that kind of finishes today's training. So have a good week, and we'll see you next time.